everybody. I'm Victor Brooks, and thank you once again for joining us at the Victor Brooks Show Facebook Live Quarantine Series. I love getting on here and talking to our positivity posse around the world. You bring us so much joy. You bring us the gasoline that myself and my co-producers, Chris Brooks, Julie McKnight, and Wendy Vaughn here, you give us the gasoline we need to keep bringing positive messages to you, and that's all we're trying to do in our small way, that we hope carries on. You know what I always like to say is come get some of this positivity on you, take a bath in it, scuba dive in it, jump off into it. And when you get up, just remember to sprinkle it on somebody else, That's all we're trying to do. And we can't thank you enough for always being here with us. Every Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Today, our internets are going crazy all over the country and all over the world, I guess you can say, because we are, everybody's on the internet right now. Everybody's doing their thing. And today, we just finished with Diane Vaughn from Raise It Up Y, and we thank you again for Diane for being with us. And as you all know, through the promos that we've been sharing with you, we have an incredible soul, is what I'd like to start with. Miss Melba Moore is here with us, and before she joins us on the screen, I'm going to let you know we're going to be doing this via telephone, and that is such a warming to my heart that although of Miss Melba's technical difficulties where she is, she said, no, I'm coming to do this show. And said, is it okay if we can just do this by phone? I said, okay, what? I said, please join us. This story has, as so many people, once the promo started, of Miss Melba's journey, Miss Melba's story, has been a ministry to so many, has been an encouragement to so many, of her journey, of not just the icon of through entertainment, but herself as her individual journey has been given. And I can't thank her enough. So we're coming at you, our first episode with telephone, where you'll see the incredible photo that we have here of Miss Melba, but you'll hear Miss Melba via telephone. And just to give a lead in here, we're talking about Melba Moore, native New Yorker, a prolific and multi-talented singer, songwriter, actress, producer, with a 5-octave range. Tony Award-winning Broadway star, as we know from Purlie, an unmatched portrayal of the character of Lutiebelle Gussie Mae Jenkins, that naive powerhouse of the character that she played in the Broadway play Purlie. Also, we're talking as Melba Moore, one of the original cast members of the Broadway play Hair, along with the incredible vocalist Ronnie Dyson and actress Diane Keaton. Melba Moore eventually replaced Miss Keaton in the role of Sheila, becoming the first Black woman to replace a white lead on Broadway. Then, as we just mentioned, as her role of in Purlie that won her the Tony Award. Then to television, 1970s, Melba was also showing her talents on TV on the CBS television weekly series, The Melba Moore Clifton Davis Show. Returning to Broadway after television, she joined Eartha Kitt in the production of Timbuktu in 1978. Melba Moore was the first female pop R&B artist, the first pop R&B artist to perform a non-operatic solo concert at the New York Metropolitan Opera House, also the Olympia in Paris. 8 top 10 R&B hits, 2 #1 hits, and 3 Grammy nominations for Miss Melba. The 80s and 90s brought Miss Melba to us and continued our love and respect for her artistry when she gave us memorable tracks and hits such as You Stepped Into My Life, Lean on Me, Love's Coming at You. Old classic with Freddie, a little bit more. Almost 50 years in this industry as a multi-talented icon and a way paver is what I'd like to say. She continues to create, perform, and make her voice heard as a philanthropist also, as an activist for women's rights and the rights of children. And no doubt, still able to keep her audience on the edge of their seats in her performances with that seasoned delivery of interpretation and vocal styling. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and it's my pleasure to continue this conversation and welcome the one and only Miss Melba Moore. Lady Melba, are you there?
I'm there, Victor. Thank you so much for that intro. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And I see already my positivity posse. I know you can't see the lineup of comments and things that are coming on of people joining, but the love is there, Miss Melba. It's there.
Oh, thanks. I thank you. I thank you. All of Victor's support is now they're mine.
There you go. And vice versa. We call ourselves the Positivity Posse, Miss Melba.
All right, I want to join that one.
What does positivity mean to you?
Well, first of all, the opposite of negativity.
There we go. There we go.
But it's very important right now because your positivity and your hope and your courage can save your and everybody's life right now. It's really, really, really important to be on the right side of the truth right now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And like I mentioned before in my intro, you've had an activist side, a philanthropist side of your life mission journey as well, right?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I was just invited to become a part of the new Black Lives Matter movement.
Go ahead.
I mean, isn't that a great honor?
Yes.
Because it's a reality in all of our lives now, not just Black lives, but it really has become an organized movement. There's an organization called Black Lives Matter, the movement, and they're using my solo version of "Lift Every Voice and Sing" as kind of the theme song, because they're promoting. I'm not sure they're promoting the version that I did in the '90s with all the other Black artists. By the way, let me say, Victor,
yes.
The reason I didn't do it by myself in the beginning is because I had become a member of the National Council of Negro Women, which was then run by Dr. Dorothy Height.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was on hiatus, and I was traveling across the country with her doing her national Negro.
Yeah.
She would do these wonderful celebrations, and she would have prayer breakfasts and all kinds of celebrations. And she asked me would I sing the Negro National Anthem, and I didn't know we had one, being a native New Yorker.
Got you.
Because in the South we learn our history, or at least some of it.
Come on.
But in New York we didn't learn our history, so I didn't know that we had an anthem. And so I learned it, and I realized that a lot of people probably did not know, because we came here as slaves. We didn't have anything. Our identity, everything was taken away from us. Yes. But we did have different songs like "We Shall Overcome" and a bunch of songs. But "Lift Every Voice and Sing" has been entered into the congressional record as our official national anthem, like every other nation has an anthem. So that's why it's such a joy to me and an honor for them to invite me to be a part of the movement. First of all, that is official. Of course, we've lost another life in George Floyd, and of course he's not the only one. There's so many that we don't even get to mention. It's just heartbreaking that this had continued to happen, and I think it's so just vital as to in terms of being positive, that you have an opportunity to really take a stand and become a part of an official movement about Black lives mattering.
Oh, Miss Melba, that is so, I mean, you hit it right on the head, because a lot of our audience with the Positivity Posse are made up of, it's cross-generational, and that's a blessing that we're seeing it reaching generations. But we started it with our main core of our artists expressing themselves and finding their positivity through their artistic expression. And it's just started to really, kind of I don't want to say bonfire, but it's starting to spread that message through our young artists. And I look back over your career, like so many of us, Miss Melba, And you started your career, if I'm correct, in the late 60s, in the middle of the civil rights. I'm not saying started it, but with Hair. Let's go at the play Hair.
Right.
That was on the cusp or in right there during civil rights, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Well, the secret to the success of the Broadway musical Hair was that it basically really was a civil rights revolution.
Yes.
It broke all the mores. It said the things out loud that people had been saying in private. All the parodies were against the prejudices in government. I don't know. I don't think we were the first one to call Richard Nixon Tricky Dick, but
yeah, I got you. But somebody did, and we picked it up. There you go.
And Margaret Mead, and
right.
One of the reasons that I was hired, they found me on a recording session that I was doing. Excuse me, I was doing backup studio singing work.
Okay.
And one of the recording sessions was the music from Hair. Mm-hmm. And the gentleman who wrote the music for it, Courtney McDermott, was being accompanied by the two gentlemen that were starring in it, okay. Jim Rado and Jerry Ragney. They were also the script writers and the book writers. Excuse me, the lyric
yes.
writers. They wrote. God wrote the music, and they wrote the lyrics for all the songs. Okay. So the reason I got to audition for it is because they were doing the music and they were still casting. But one of the reasons one of the parts that I got featured was a parody in there called White Boys. Okay. And I was parodying Diana Ross, singing about white boys are so lovely, white boys are so cute. Yeah. You know, I love white boys. Okay. But then Diane Keaton came down and sang her song about black boys. Okay. Right. So if you weren't back there to hear that, this was unheard of. How can a black trio of girls sing about liking white boys? How you do that? You know? Yes. Yeah. And then how do you say these things out loud? And of course, it was a new thing. They just broke all the rules. Gotcha. Yes. And of course, I became the first black actress to replace a white actress in a lead role because they broke all the rules. There you go. There you go. So it wasn't just, it was almost a mission, I guess you could say, and I guess that's why the voice of this play is still lingering. That's why it's so iconic, because it wasn't, like you said, just the whole, it was also part of the peace movement. I guess it was one of the. It was basically the peace movement. Like they had a big song in there called "Prisoners in Niggertown." It's a dirty. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And the audiences were all white. Gotcha. How did that feel, Miss Melba, with knowing that, and especially once you replaced Diane Keaton there, and with the lyrics of the song, the message that was coming out, and especially during that time in America at that moment, what was that feeling, Miss Melba, to know that this is now something you become a part of artistically? I think I could understand it better in retrospect, but at the time, I just thought it was very exciting. I thought it was really weird that somebody might hire me because I had never acted before. Okay. I got you. I felt like I was part of the revolution. There you go. Because I think some quotes that came out of that was that Melba Moore changed the color of hair. Yeah. You know. Well, I got the credit for it, but really they did it. The writers and the producers. I got you. Their vision. I got you. You know, and with the whole, so your and also your campaigns with well, before I get to that, let's go now to Purlie. And the whole idea of the message of Purlie, your character as I like to always say, the naive powerhouse. I love that. That's the perfect description. You know, of which I have to keep because I'm so proud of it, as well as millions of others, that this was your Tony Award, you know, winning as Best Supporting Actress, correct? For that Tony, as this character. Now, we know with Robert Guillaume and the rest to the cast there, can we also say continuing that message of Black artistry? Okay. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I didn't realize it because it was an all-white audience. It was Broadway. Mm-hmm. It was a gospel musical.
Wow. See there? Gotcha. You're right. That's it.
I mean, now that we have that genre officially,
Mm-hmm.
we can look at it. Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, right. And you know what? And looking back, because there's so many now YouTube clips of your performances, and you're right. The audience was a white audience. It was Broadway. It was what? It was early 70s. Now, what year?
It was
would you say?
1970.
1970. And the faces, of course the performances, and what one of the others that you're known for is those long notes that you're able to control at every octave, you know, that was delivered there. But the faces of the audience, the all-white audience or the predominant audience, was there ever a time, Miss Melba, when you were doing your thing and you had that moment and that where you looked out, especially now once again during this time in our society, did anything go through your mind that also repeated that's, you know what, hey, I may be making a statement here through my art?
No, I'll tell you what happened though.
Tell me.
Well, first of all, I got the role because the young lady who told me, she told Jim and Jerry, the writers and the producers of Hair, that, you know, they were having a lot of different people try to do the role of Sheila, and they weren't happy with them. They kept changing it.
All right.
So she said, well, you never let a black girl try. Why don't you let a black girl try? She said, why don't you let Melba try? I said, well, okay.
Wow.
And I got the part. And then I've been in the show for a year and a half, and Mary Davis is her name. I'll never forget it.
Okay.
She said, no, you don't even really know how to audition. You didn't audition to get in this show. And this show's not going to last forever. Why don't you start going up to things? And she told me about auditions for Purlie.
Okay.
And she said, what you have to do is you have to try to be like what they call typecast. I said, well, what's that?
Yeah, right. Let's start from scratch here, right? That's it.
She said, well, you have to try to find out something about the role, about the play, and try to look like the part.
Yeah.
Okay, so she showed me where to get a script and everything, and I looked at it and everything. And so she said, now, Melvin, I auditioned for it. And a lot of people, they may have picked who they want already, but I think they still have an audition. She said, now, the character is country. She's from the backwoods of the South. And she don't know how to read or write. She's country. You think you could handle that? Well, but I made history.
Yes, you
in
did.
Country.
There you go.
But I was trying to learn how to audition. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, come on.
But I got the part.
Come on now. And got a Tony of the part. In the same
and a career.
And a career. Oh, that's a great story. That's a great story. And it just, in my opinion, it gives that whole essence of that realism that we feel from Miss Melba.
Exactly. And I got to give honor to the fact that, of course, my mother was a professional singer. Okay. So I had it in my genes. My natural father was a very famous band leader by the name of Teddy Hill. Okay. But my mother married my stepfather, and they had a musical group together. They performed together, and he was a piano player. So he made, he had a son and a daughter. So now I had a brother and sister. I was an only child before. Okay. And he made us all learn how to play piano. But when my mother was a single parent, we lived in New York City, she was gone all the time. So I was raised by what we used to call a nanny. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother was invalid. She never spoke, so I don't really know my family history or anything. So all I knew was what Mama Lou taught me. Guess what she was? She was a cotton chopper for me.
Okay.
She never learned to read or write.
Right.
After I started out in Catholic school, I think that's where I first got my spiritual, upbringing, and it stayed with me. Yeah. But when I was in about, 3rd or 4th grade, I used to try to teach her how to read and write. She said, I don't need to learn how to read and write. I got mother wit. And, I talked like I was from the backwoods of Salisbury, North Carolina. Okay. That's the reason I got the part. Okay. We used to call her Mama Lou. Mama Lou.
And so you took some of that part of growing up and the realism of the family and drew what was in your blood that said, wait a minute, I got this. It's coming out,
No, I didn't know how to audition, Victor, but when I was reading the parts and stuff, I would see it, and then it would really get country. And then Philip Rose, who was the director and the producer of the show, said, well, what are you saying? We get so country, he didn't know what I was saying.
But you know what? Let me ask you this. When did you know what, wait a minute. So did it hit you that this is something, I'm a singer, I'm a performer, when you didn't know how to audition, coming from that, did it hit you before that or during this time of Purlie that, you know what, I'm about to do this thing?
Yeah, I remember standing in front of the microphone when I entered one day, and before I began to say the script character, just looking out there and looking at them, look at me, and me look at them.
I got you.
And I thought, oh, they're looking at me to say something, not say something, but to give them a feeling or whatever. Because I didn't have any acting lessons, so I didn't quite know how to articulate what was going on. And before I actually got on stage and realized we were connecting with each other, I read the script and I thought it was kind of what we used to call Uncle Tom.
Okay.
And I thought, but I didn't realize that it was a comedy. And of course, R.C. Davis wrote this for him and Ruby D.
Yes.
And he knew better, but you also had to be kind of tongue in cheek because it was an all-white audience, and Broadway was very, very, very racist.
Okay.
So what I realized was that yes, this was a message coming through, and we were doing it through comedy, and we were really revolutionizing the theater with this piece.
Yes.
It kind of hit me.
Yeah. Changing that game is what, like I learned that phrase, like you change. That's why I like to use the when I speak of your career, a way paver. Because once again, we're going to that timeline of late 60s into literally the early 70s. And like you say, I've heard so many times, they didn't call it the Great White Wave for just the lights that showed. And, here you are with no acting lessons previously, right? Even to the point of saying, you know what, an audition, okay, I've heard that, but what is that all about? But still moving and breaking that barrier, which if we fast forward even to now, which we're not, I'm just saying for conversational and piggybacking, so many have now come through that great white way because of your stepping in and even I'm going to say innocently not knowing, like you just mentioned, as far as the how the process went, how do I get this job, and so you mentioned you came from a musical family, it was in your blood, and then with this caring, Miss Melba, like I mentioned, was it at that specific time that you said, you know what, here's theater? When did music, as far as a recording, was that around that time now, or was the next stage literally television at that time that you started now inducing into your journey?
Well, actually, they were all happening kind of simultaneously.
Okay.
That was difficult too.
Tell me about that.
Well, once I got the Tony Award, everything changed dramatically overnight.
Wow.
And then, of course, I got invited into television. At the same time, I had met and fallen in love with Clifton Davis, and he was down the street in the chorus of Hello Dolly, starring Pearl Bailey. So all kinds of barriers were being broken. But then after that, he left to star, and I can't think of the play that he was in now, but Two Gentlemen of Verona.
Right.
He started that, and so we were like the Sonny and Cher of Broadway.
Exactly. And because when Cliff did his episode, he brought this out, Miss Melba, that some of the shot callers in the industry, the production people, had no idea you all were an item outside of the stage. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what they knew. Everything was just coming at us so quickly. And we were saying yes.
I got you. But you know what? You said the Sonny and Cher of it all. And with, now, what didn't the show, did it replace Sonny and Cher during that time slot? Or?
It replaced the Carol Burnett show.
Okay. Now wait a minute. Now y'all, my age and older. Let me. Y'all are. I know some of y'all's jaws are dropping. If you remember it, but to come in, okay. And I'm so glad we have Miss Melba to correct me if I'm wrong, but coming right after that slot, because there was no cable then. You had what, 5 main networks, and we were watching. So to vie for those, those television show slots, to come after the Carol Burnett show with 2 beautiful Black souls at that particular time. I can remember when we're talking, I think you said 1972 or around that time, there in my household, like so many households, especially in the Black community, Miss Melba, when we turned on the TV and we saw the afros, we saw the talent, we saw your hairstyle keeping it natural. And I'd like to know, was there any problem ever with that once the production got started? But it gave us a sense of pride, which in my opinion, as we started the talk, your continuation of groundbreaking, your continuation of saying, okay, I'm going to be one of the first of this as well. And now it's crossing over into television. And I've heard it said in different conversations that when you see the promos of still shots, and then the whole message of the Clifton Davis, Melba Moore Clifton Davis show, that was the Beyonce Jay-Z vibe of our
right.
time of being little youngins, and saying,
right.
Do you get that, Miss Melba, a lot, that this was groundbreaking? This is Black love, y'all. They out here singing as well as acting.
Right. Right. Well, I think Clifton being in the company of a great woman like Pearl Bailey.
Yes, ma'am.
Turning Hello Dolly Black.
Right. That's right.
We were in the midst of a revolution where we were looked at in awe, and I'm just thinking that fed us so much confidence, because I certainly was not a person with confidence at all.
Okay.
But maybe I had more just hunger and desire to be an artist, because that's really what I'm born to be.
Yes.
And maybe I had more fire than I realized in me, that might have taken the place of what most people might have called courage or nerve. You just go for it. You don't know what you're doing. You just go for it. Yeah. And then, of course, I'm in love.
Yeah.
Hey, I can go to the moon. Are you soaking?
Right.
Don't feel like you can't do anything.
There you go. And all of a sudden, because me as an artist, I know a feeling, and all of our artistic buttons had pushed at that time, all of our hopeless romanticisms, that we're able to say, oh.
I don't know what Christian's education is, but I'm well educated.
Yes.
I came from teaching school, so
that's right.
I'm very mentally and I guess artistically disciplined.
Yes.
So that's something I don't even really think about. I didn't have really so much ability in terms of but I would study and work at it and get it.
Okay. Yeah. Like you said, it was something born to be. Like you said, you're born to be an artist of expression, but then learning that craft is what I think is what you're saying too, right? Like all of a sudden,
what I thought I was doing was learning on the job.
Ah, gotcha. On-job training. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what they called it when I used to I had my jobs coming up. You getting on-job training, brother.
Yeah.
That's it.
Those opportunities were there so voluminously there and just was exploding. So
yes,
wherever you could, you said, yes, let me get in there and learn how to do this. That was my attitude.
So
I'm trying to learn how.
And with that groundbreaking of that, you had a natural, meaning afro. The episodes, you kept your hair natural. And those of us in my generation older know what I'm saying. That was heavy back then. Okay?
Well, I think that was nurtured in the culture of hair.
Ah, okay. Okay.
I mean, them people didn't even wear no shoes.
There you go.
And whatever you were, that we were encouraged to live and express that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you have problems with the network when they said, well, because if we remember, you know, and I'm speaking once again to my generation and older, the Afro was in a lot of ways a sign of protest. The natural hair was a sign of, you know, hey, it was correlated with the fist, with the whole nine. It was a revolutionary symbol to a lot of people. With coming on,
I think what broke the barrier,
yes,
was that he came from two gentlemen of Verona.
Yes.
I came from winning a Tony Award in Purlie.
Right.
So, and my hair was very fashionable. I had a beautiful hairstyle. She works with Gladys Knight now. Her name is Blondie Brown. She created all these incredible.
Oh wow!
It wasn't just no afro.
Right, I got you. It was. I understand. Yeah, I got you.
So
right.
We were the first to come out and make it high fashion and really just go all out in all kinds of braids and just crazy, fabulous, ridiculous.
That's right.
Afro.
Because you know, I'm seeing now a lot of that wardrobe you all, you know, the whole thing of it. Yeah. That's my mama used the whole thing.
I mean, outrageous. It was fashion statements. It was new things that you hadn't seen before.
That's right.
And that's entertainment.
That's entertainment.
That's what it was looked at as.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. Because it was so fashionable.
That's right.
Not so much, oh, you got an afro. It wasn't like that.
Got you. And I'm so glad that because with this episode that you're giving us today, that's the type of education that myself and others I know need of, because you know we've loved your work and you as the artist all these years, and being able to hear directly from you, Miss Melba, just that point there, you know, of that it wasn't just a protest afro. We were delivering show business as two professional Black entertainers as well.
Right.
You know, that we're opening doors, crossing barriers, you know.
We looked at it as doors being open for us. Okay. What we gonna wear? What we gonna say? and nobody on the show, you know, was Black or had done anything that had anything to do with Black culture. Mm-hmm. So we brought our friend Mildred Lane just to be there. And she would feed us lines and, you know, give us alternatives to what was given to us. If it wasn't funny or if it was, you know, not appropriate for Black people or white people, anybody. Just what was acceptable. Because there hadn't been any line set in terms of the type of entertainment show that we were doing. I think Bill Cosby was on or was coming on, or Cliff Wilson was on. There were other Black entertainers, but we were doing something a little bit different than had been done.
Exactly, and much respect to that legacy. And then I still see it, and many of us still see it in photo shoots. You know, just recently, you know, the style that was set forth by you and Cliff at that time. And with going back to the deciding to go back now, we're talking theater after the television show, right? And we're talking going back with another icon, the experience with Eartha Kitt in Timbuktu.
Right.
Oh my goodness! I mean, come on! I want to hear so many of us. What was that experience? First of all, going back to Broadway after television. Was it a natural transition, or was it something like you said, this is entertainment, and then?
Well, once again, I really was naive. I really didn't have management. I didn't have any appropriate, really, or wise guidance. So I lost my career between the time that we did the TV show and the time I came back with the great Miss Eartha Kitt.
Yes.
But thank God for Jeffrey Holder.
Okay. All right. Okay.
He wanted to do this African, beautiful, lush, semi-operatic Broadway play. Yeah. And he loved Eartha and he loved me. He wanted us to be kind of opposite each other in terms of her being the grown-up glamour character and my being the younger glamour character, and the love story and the beautiful semi-classical music that it presented. So it was his creation. I got that opportunity because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted me and he wanted her.
Okay, right on. And that, that whole, and once again, we're looking at, when you mentioned Brother Holder, I mean, icon in his right,
Yes.
And just the fact now that once again, the Great White Way has some of us still doing our thing,
It's got a few little rainbows in it.
Add some colors to that, that are still standing to this day. So with that, after and I sure appreciate you giving us our chronology right now, Miss Melba, because I see with the comments here and things that are coming up. Oh my goodness, it's not only being educational, but it's also being a source of inspiration to a lot. And when you have the chance to look back on these, you'll see what people are saying right now. Now, when did the recording end? Now with 78 with Timbuktu, with the recording, Buddha Records, your singing contracts, your life as now Melba Moore, the singer, the recording artist.
Well, once again, because someone incredible came into my life and said that, well, you should be a recording artist.
Okay.
And of course, that's what I thought I was going to be, because that's what I started out as. Okay. I love teaching school, but I wanted to be an artist. Okay. And one of the first people I met as my stepdad was taking me around to meet different people was Valerie Simpson. And at the time, wow, she was kind of shopping some music. She hadn't yet signed with Motown, but I think she was just on the cusp of getting ready to do that. But she was also a great studio singer. She did jingles and she did that kind of thing. She wasn't a solo artist yet. Yeah. And we exchanged numbers, and she's the one who got me involved in recording studio work. So that was my first attempt, and I had hoped, to grow from there and maybe get some solo opportunities and, maybe do some demos and stuff. But what happened was the hair thing happened, and so it shot me to Broadway. So I said, instead of learning how to sing in the studio, I'm gonna learn how to act and sing on the Broadway stage. I will start there. Yeah. That came after the recording studio experience, and I thought I would be a recording artist first, but it didn't turn out that way. Okay. But after I got the Broadway experience, I then met my soon-to-be, after that, husband, Charles Huggins, and he was in the restaurant business. Okay. And he had also been a booking agent for several different artists in the past, but he was naturally gifted as a business person, as an entrepreneur. Okay. That was just his gift, all kinds of business. And very creative, very ideal, and very courageous. Would try anything. He was trying to get me a manager, but he couldn't find one, because everybody said, well, she's been on Broadway, she's too white, Yeah, I got you. Okay. That's interesting. She can't do recording. I had already done recording. Everything they told him that I couldn't do, I'd already done. So he said, you know what? I'm going to manage you. There you go. So he said, we just started exploring and finding some things, and he got me my first recording contract with Buddha Records. Okay. Excuse me, was Mercury. Mercury, okay. Mercury Records, and he got me the fabulous Gene McDaniels was my songwriter producer. That's right. That's right, Gene McDaniels, And the album is called Peach Melba. That's right. And when you listen to that record, I sound like I'm about 12 years old. My voice hasn't changed yet. Okay. But it's so beautiful to me now to look back and see the journey, Yes, exactly. And once again, I didn't really have a style yet. So I was learning by the music of the day where I fit in and how to grow as an artist, as a solo artist. So I went from Mercury to Buddha Records, and that's where I think we got Van McCoy. Oh man, here we go. Yep. Am I right? Was it Van McCoy? I can't not remember if he was with that label. Yeah, I think it was with Buddha. Yeah, I have Van McCoy here off of my notes, so I think we're on the same page. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, Van McCoy brought me quite a few really wonderful songs, but what I brought him there we go. Right? Because it still breaks my heart that Aretha Franklin has passed away. That's how much I love her.
Yes, yes, yes. I got you.
And I had heard her sing "Lean on Me."
Come on.
And during the time that I began to get booked in concerts, live concerts, and I was booked at Avery Fisher Hall at Lincoln Center.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my own arrangement of "Lean on Me," and it brought the house down. So I took that arrangement,
Right on.
and I reminded Ben that he wrote this song, but he had to do it this way.
Okay. Right on, right on.
Because I couldn't sing like Aretha, so I sung my heart out. And that's when some of those notes and stuff really started to set in, and because I was trying to express myself. And I was still developing my style.
You know what, Miss Melba, you hit it right on the head with that, because right before you went into your story here, you said something that when you said you started to develop your own, you hadn't had your own, you were starting to learn your own style. You know, when you with the Buddha Records recording, with the Peach Melba recording, and what is the importance? And I know growing up in it, the importance of an artist being open and understanding that learning your own style, developing your own originality, that you give an interpretation of a song. You make this performance yours. Because like you just also mentioned that doing Aretha Franklin, you aren't Aretha Franklin. So when you came and did the Melba-ness of it, you did. That's what the if I'm correct, one of the Grammy nominations came from. And what we also fell in love with. So the importance of an artist learning their own style, developing their own style.
Well, that's a journey. It's a process. You know, for instance, you're a Christian, so you know about miracles.
Yes.
But miracles are a process.
Come on now.
We always think they just happen. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the wrong analogy.
No, I'm listening. I'm all ears. No, I want to hear more about that. Being a
I'm saying that an artist, and I think we're so rich here in America because this is the spirit of artistry that God has poured on us, especially through African Americans.
Yes.
People. It's amazing. And so he takes you on a journey and you have to try things. And well, I did. Mine was, I knew that, especially from the character I played of Lutiebelle.
Yes.
It was because I was tiny and my voice was real light. I sounded like a kid.
Okay.
I wasn't a kid, but I sounded like that.
Right.
And then when I went into the studio to try to see what that was going to be, generally, a good R&B singer has a nice voice.
Okay.
Something that got some weight to it.
Right.
They know what they're talking about. I know nobody's going to believe it. You sound like good. No. You got to kind of rough it up, I said, but my voice ain't like that. What am I going to do? That's what I'm telling you. That's the road an artist has to take.
Come on.
You hear something in your time, in your ear, on the radio or on the internet or wherever you hear it now. Oh, that's fabulous. But you got to find out if your voice will do that. And if it won't, you got to find out what it will do.
Come on now. Oh,
because we already got whatever that singer is. So we don't need someone who sounds exactly like Aretha Franklin or Chaka Khan. We already got that.
There you go.
So it has to become a journey, and it takes a lot of courage.
Well, Miss Melba, do you think that in this genre, presently, that thought has been lost? If not lost, or that thought has not been equally recognized, that of your own?
It's not been lost. I don't think it's ever been discovered. We keep plowing ahead because we're inspired, but nobody ever spells out to you that there's a process and you can go through it. I mean, that's not true. I haven't been in the educational system a very long time, so it's probably being studied. And one of the reasons we see people like on American Idol or those shows that are so fabulous is because they have been taught this.
Gotcha.
So I think it is being focused on now.
Okay, that gives hope. That's that other string of positivity that we always love to bring. And when we have, the people such as yourself who can give us that wisdom, which you just did also now, of your intake, you know, your take on the artist journey, you know, which you're correct.
Yeah. And I really do think it's a good one because it's the journey that every artist has to take, unless they come here, some do, with a style, and they sound the same way at the 5 years old as they do at 50.
Yeah, right.
It's already there. But if they don't, they got to take the journey.
They got to take the journey. And you know what? With your explanation, I think, when did you find in your journey that you could hold the note as long as you can in every single octave?
Well, my friend, I used to sing with her in a group called Voices in Ink. Her name is Pianist. And we were both school teachers, and we performed too. And she used to play for me, you know, these little, whatever opportunities, not paid events, you know, we were just getting experience.
Yeah.
And she reminded me that we were singing, she was playing it for me, and I was singing Climb Every, I don't know if you know that now, Climb Every Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes up and up, and I'd be trying to hit it so hard, I'd be trying all the time. One time I hit one of these notes and it hit. And I was holding it to find out who hit it.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if you know, you took this big breath, and you were trying so hard. You weren't really quite cognizant exactly what you were doing.
Yeah.
So you hit it and you projected it in a certain way, and it went way over there. And I was holding it, and I kept holding it. I said, "Oh God, that's me."
There you go. That's right. That's right.
And then I felt comfortable, so I kept holding it. Wow. And so then after that, I said, I wonder, could I do that again? Then it became like aerobics. You exercise, you could do it. Because you don't do it, you lose it, because it wasn't natural.
Okay.
And then I started to build on it and let it go higher.
And that was it. You say, this is part now of, I can put this in my bag of, this is
right.
This is my style. This is part of my styling bag that I can pull from.
Right. And you can't use it all the time, but it's a gift that you have that you didn't have before that you can now use. And then you learn other things. You learn types of little riffs or runs of stuff that's suitable for you. Because it's a good part of the art of R&B music.
Okay.
So now I sing classical too.
Yes.
So you know what's acceptable in those kinds of tones, and even if you do ad-libs, what's acceptable in that style. That's what I mean.
There you go. Knowing what to do, when to do, and why to do. Huh?
Yeah, you can't sell apples with oranges.
Come on now, hey, that's what they say, right? I believe it. But you know, Miss Melba, when you just graced us with your starting all the way at the beginning of, and how we, you know, set it up and put it together with the boundaries that you broke through, the gates that you came through, both being Black and also being a woman. It's coming from the late 60s all the way we talked through the 70s, and we're now, you know, knocking on 80s door. With that, in my opinion, lasting during that time and doing, overcoming what your process took you through, there's a sense of strength there. There's something, absolutely. You know, not just the incredible talent and artistry of Melba Moore, but to many of us, Miss Moore, we're looking at that strength, that tenacity, that's something that you're born with. Where did that come from?
Absolutely. It's what you're born with, but it also comes from knowing that you're very, very, very weak, and you don't just say, okay, I'm weak, I give up, I lay down. You keep working on it, and actually you can become stronger. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is particularly important in character and integrity.
Yes.
But I mean, those of us who know the Lord a little bit, know that's where it comes from. Sometimes we don't know that in the beginning, but if we keep going and He continues to give us longevity, we'll learn, okay, that's where it's coming from. Then sometimes it might be something wrong in your career or in your talent that you could actually trace back to a character flaw. You start working on that, and there's connection.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find different areas of strength actually in the physical body.
There you go. There you go.
Like singers can't just eat potato chips and watch TV. You gotta eat right. You gotta exercise.
Now, you know what?
And God ain't coming back for no big old fat ugly nasty looking thing.
You know what? I know you are very serious about not just your artisticness, but your holistic, your
right. The whole being.
When did that? Was eating the right thing or all of that? Because if I'm not mistaken, you still split, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah. You say, yep.
You know that don't come natural.
But when did that always be? Well, I mean, when did that always be? When was that always a part of your temperance stuff? What you ate, when you ate?
Yes, because I discovered before doctors would tell you
mm-hmm.
that the food they give you will kill you.
Okay.
That I've had pneumonia, bronchitis, all kinds of respiratory problems.
Okay.
And now they're going to find out during this coronavirus, and I'm seeing it in the supermarkets all of a sudden. They're selling very, very expensive vitamins.
Yeah.
And fruit-made desserts that don't have all these poisons in them.
Right.
And people are changing from eating, like fried foods to baked foods.
Gotcha.
Because your food is a type of the body and blood of Jesus.
Okay.
And I'm not making the connection.
No,
I don't want to go through all that now, but eventually you see. And everybody can't eat the same thing. Some people can eat meat and stuff. Mm-hmm. Some people can't.
Right.
But if you find those things out, your other abilities kind of fall in line because your mind is clearer and stronger.
Yeah.
If you're a singer, most people know singers should not have dairy. We now know that.
Oh man, that's one of my downs. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying that's one of the obvious connections between food and strength of life.
That mucus input. That's it. That's right.
Right. And mucus is inflammation. It's a disease waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I found that out the hard way. The doctors did not tell me that.
Well, you know what? Another thing, Miss Melba, when you mentioned, like I said, we talked about the journey of your career, the groundbreaking, that tenacity that you have and had to have, and we hear what you just attributed a lot of that to. As much as you're comfortable, the 80s also brought some ups and downs for you. As far as is this when the divorce happened during this time?
Right. Right.
And and once again, it's an honor because I know media can flip things. I know journalists can flip things, and to hear it directly from you, I believe that's the ultimate respect to give to you. To tell us in your words, as much as you're comfortable saying, that whole journey of that from the blind side part of your life of what happened. And especially the divorce and coming back from that, Miss Melba.
Right. Well, I'll try to kind of just bullet point it because I think I'm
ma'am.
going to have the opportunity to, write the books and tell the story.
Fantastic.
Okay. So, but basically, I'll just get to the point where I lost my husband. I have a daughter.
Yes.
One of the reasons I was late for you today is her birthday is coming up, and I was saying, thank you, I still got my daughter. Let me go find something beautiful for her.
Yeah, I got you.
And I had to have cesarean to have her, so there were just many things that made me think today, I'm going to grab this opportunity. I forgot about our interview.
Got you.
We scheduled. Mm-hmm. But I lost her for a while. Mm-hmm. I was evicted at the same time, around the same time. But this gentleman by the name of Michael Matthews called me just around the time I was getting evicted. And he took me out on the road to see these wonderful, beautiful theaters that he was filling up around the country, 2,000 and 3,000 seaters, with these gospel plays. I know you think I'm going to say Tyler Perry, but I'm going to tell you Michael Matthews, because Michael Matthews taught Tyler Perry.
Okay.
But I came along first, right?
Right. I got you.
Like older than everybody. But just about 3 or 4 days before I was to be evicted, she called me out on the road to do a play that he called Mama, I'm Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
One of the stars in it was Ronnie Wilson from the Gap Band.
Yes.
And just a bunch of incredible, talented people.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing is, I'm not sure I knew that I was born again and saved. That's part of what broke up my family, because nobody knew what that was, and it had hit me, and I didn't belong to like a particular denomination or
Mm-hmm.
nothing. I think it came because I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic school.
Okay.
That's religion. You're being taught religion. And Catholic, that's the church. It's not a denomination. The Catholic Church, it means universal. That's the first Christian church. That's the church Jesus Christ started. That's the basis on which I feel like, all the
other
all the places that Jesus went
yeah.
have been made into Catholic churches.
Okay.
Not because of the religion or denomination.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he left for us as proof that he came here.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, I think that stayed with him when all these different things happened.
Gotcha.
It just became more evident to me that I was saved. I was born again.
There you go.
So when Mike Matthews brought me out to this play, I was so depressed, and I don't think I was depressed. That's not the word. I don't think you can really be depressed if you're saved, but you're just broken and you're in grief. I have one child. I have no idea where she was.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been evicted. I've got lawyers to try to stay in my place. I filed for welfare to pay the rent, but they don't want welfare recipients of Central Park South.
I got you. Right.
So I'm on the road. I'll just skip to the first rehearsal we had.
Yes.
And I'm coming to the rehearsal, and she's just beautiful. Her name is Tita. This beautiful young lady said, "Good morning, saints. Praise the Lord, everybody." I thought I had died, because I am nobody close around me.
You're waiting to hear the angels coming at you, man. Okay.
Oh my God, what has happened to me? And I say that, Victor, to let you know what kind of experience that was.
Mm-hmm.
These people they really were saints, but I mean, I didn't know what that was before.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember one of them tried to have an argument with the other. They couldn't. They don't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
They said, well, if you, they couldn't even finish the sentence.
Yeah.
They don't know how to do that. And well, to make a long story a little bit shorter, they prayed with me. They stayed with me. We traveled. That was the first time I went on a tour, because I've never been on any kind of a tour with any of the plays that I've been on.
Okay.
I went to Broadway. That was it.
Yeah. Right.
And so now I'm on my first theatrical tour on a bus. That was wonderful. Just going from place to place and picking up memorabilia here and there and laughing with each other on the bus and everything. But even the bus driver was saved. He would pray before. Everybody was saved.
Right. That is out of sight. Yeah.
They really, and everybody had come from something.
Yeah.
So it was just such an amazing, it wasn't just healing. It's just like you actually were lifted and went someplace else. Were carried someplace else. Mm-hmm. And eventually I was able to get in touch with my daughter and bring her out on the road with me.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
And she said, "Mommy, wow." She would listen to them sing, and she would be back there crying. She never heard anything like that.
Yeah.
I said, "Baby, that's what saints are."
Okay.
Honey, that's what saints do.
Right. But see, that's that whole journey. During your journey, like you just said before, miracle is a journey.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm hearing here. That I'm sorry, I just say, because it just hit me that's
it's where I really started to learn how to sing gospel.
Okay.
That's a real late bloomer, but better late than never.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about that tenacity again, your career, personal situations, the divorce, the ups and downs, the negativity that media and third parties want to disrespectfully bring, and everything that comes with it. And Miss Melba, you're still here, and we just got through kind of giggling throughout it. Now, to me, that's a string of positivity.
It is. It'll show you the essence of the presence of God is positivity. Yeah.
Come on.
And he usually he wants to confront the negativity. So you'll usually go through something, to get to that. It's a priceless treasure that we have, this positivity and this joy. Mm-hmm. And so we usually go through some terrible instance for God to say, okay, because this is my battle. You can't even handle it.
There you go. What you trying to do? Right. Right.
Yeah, you just go ahead. Just be quiet. Keep trying. And I'll take care of it. It's okay. It's always something terrible because that's what God requires, so he can show himself.
Yeah. So he can show himself. We get out the way. That's it.
Yeah.
Growing up, I remember we had the opportunity, the blessing to be able to call Little Richard like our uncle growing up. And he used to always tell my brother and sister and I, you gotta go through it to get to it. It ain't no.
And he ought to know.
He ought to know, you know, and that's hearing the same kind of a thing, you know. God bless him, man. And, you know, so now we're going to go forward to 1996. And if I'm not mistaken, in the acclaimed Les Misérables, you did another white-black replacement.
Right.
The 1996 replaced another performer on Broadway. Now, with that character, were you not only the replacement, but I believe that you were the first black female in that role?
I was the first black to play that role, yes.
Please tell us about that before we, please.
Oh, well, I had nothing. I wasn't doing the gospel play, mm-hmm. So I was trying to follow my inspiration from Whoopi Goldberg.
Okay.
Because I remember her doing a one-woman play that she wrote, and
yes.
From there,
mm-hmm.
We started to see her do her comedy and other things, and it developed her. And she went to Broadway with it, and so I said, "Well, I'm not a playwright. You know what you're not." Yeah, but you ain't got nothing, so.
Right. I got you.
What can you do? People say, "Why don't you go back and teach?" We're not going back. We got to go forward.
There you go.
So I wrote this little play of mine. Actually, I still have it. It's called Still Standing, the Melba Moore story. Okay. And I was just learning how to put it up, and I put it up in front of an audience, and just to get some feedback and criticism so I could figure out how to finish writing it. Yeah. But the gentleman who did the casting for Les Mis lived in this little town, and he came to see it because he knew who Melba Moore was from Broadway. And he says, "Oh, I think I sang Summertime or something in my little classical voice."
Yeah.
So I didn't know you sang like that. I want you in Les Mis.
Oh, wow. Okay. Got you.
So that's how I got that.
That's how you got that. Another groundbreaking, even in the 90s, coming at it. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, as you can already tell, this conversation is not a 1 hour conversation. This conversation with Miss Moore, and we cannot wait for this book. We cannot wait for the book that you and you know, in our opinion, our humble opinion, not just the book, but we need documentary on Melba Moore's journey. We need a movie on Melba Moore's journey because it's inspiring, it's educational, it's real. And when you hear, and I know many of you, as I see on this feed right now, not only have we loved Melba Moore over the years, but as we can hear in this conversation, Miss Melba Moore is real. You know, you've been real, and it comes out in your, the way that you hit the stage. I remember there was a watching, and it just hit me just now. You came and did a presentation. I don't know whether it was BET or something. It was a television show where you did Lean on Me. And it was you, the way you just entered the stage was like, you know what? This is real. Look at her. She's just, you know, and from the
well, you know, Victor, it does seem like every day seems like a fresh day. It's almost like it's the first time it's happening. I always still get scared and nervous, which is why I always prepare so well and make sure that I eat the right things. If I get scared, my voice is going to go. And
I got you.
I'm not scared people are not going to love me and everything, but you just don't know what's going to happen. So you want to really be prepared. So I feel like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, right. Let's do this. Miss Moore, before we get out, can you give a message to our positivity posse, our people here, artistic, young people who are expressing themselves. Because one of my platforms is always telling them, listen, y'all, even we're not trying with our positive message to say, hey, we're negating or trying to act like this world is flip-flopping right now. No, it's not. We understand that. But we're also saying that young artists, if we're not expecting you, because we can't do it every day, wake up with a smile on our face and act, just running around like it's all daisies and rainbows all day. No, we're not saying that. But if you feel negative, young artists, write about it. If you feel negative, dance about it. Show your artistry. And I'd love to hear your take on the positive message of artistry, especially now.
What you said is perfect. I would just kind of add to what you say, or say it in quite a little bit different perspective. However it is you feel, express it in a way that somebody can take and use and be inspired by. Don't make it so negative until you depress people or you discourage them, because you get so more if somebody's lifted up by what you do. It can be the message for what the thing that happened can be negative, but you don't have to be negative.
There you go. There you go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it. You've heard from Melba Moore herself. Miss Melba, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. And, I know with technical difficulties and your baby girl's birthday coming up, and you just had things.
I apologize again.
No, we moved on.
You're so patient. Thank you.
You know what? When you said, no, Victor, I'm doing the show. I just said, thank you. It's just an incredible thank you again of a repeat to you, because you had so much coming at you, technical, everything today. But thank you again. Thank you, Brother Ron, there in New York as well. And much respect, much love, Miss Melba. Ladies and gentlemen, I know she has to exit, but as we're going on to through this journey, y'all, and you just heard this incredible story of one of entertainment's icons. There's no doubt about it. One of entertainment's legends, no doubt about it. And like I like to say, a way paver through Miss Melba Moore, not only as a Black performer coming into her own through the late 60s, and then all through her career, but also as a woman, and also as someone who has held the banner high, number one for artistry, also for fighting the racial injustices, the sexism that plagues our communities all over the world. But she is proof positive that positivity is powerful. Negativity has its power, but as Miss Melba just said, you can't let the power of negativity overcome that power of positivity, because it's there, it's real. And I thank you every day, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us at the Victor Brooks Show, Facebook Live Quarantine Series. Come on back every time you can join us. Oh, I didn't know Miss Melba was still here. Come on back, get some of
I
this.
get my quarantine for 1 hour a day.
You got it 1 hour a day? Hey, I'm getting used to this thing in my own way, but it's given me time to write more. It's given, and I cannot wait to hear the artistry that's going to come out of this episode of Life.
Oh, yeah.
From our artists, and we here. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, you know what I always say, come get some of this positivity on you. Take a bath in it. The skinny dip in it, scuba dive in it, take a shower in it. But when you come out of that pool of positivity, sprinkle it on everybody you can, because that's all we're trying to do. And as you know, I'm not CNN, we're not BET, we're doing our own platform in our own way that we can do it, because I'm sure it's going to help somebody. And if I can help a few, that'll do. I love you. Talk to you next time on The Victor Brooks Show.